Good morning, students. In the last class, we discussed about the types of ML, right? So we discussed the supervised and unsupervised learning. So let's have a quick recap on supervised and unsupervised learning, and we'll go into the reinforcement learning. So the supervised learning was the task driven, okay, and we should have the labels associated with it. Based on the labels associated with it, we were able to predict with respect to the test data given to the model, there was a predicted output we used to get, right? So the unlabeled data was associated with the training instances. So when it has been given to the learning system, we get the Y predicted output. Whereas the unsupervised learning, where it was a data driven model where we did not have any labeled data that was being given to it. Only the input instances was given, okay, without the labeled data. The learning system used to identify the patterns, the frequent patterns were identified, and based on those association between those patterns, they were forming it into the form of clusters by grouping them, right? So this was the unsupervised learning mechanism. What exactly is the reinforcement learning mechanism? Here, today we will be discussing about the reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is a learning control. Okay. Uh, Let me just give you ask you a question. How did you really learn to cycle? This is a very basic example that we normally check out with reinforcement learning. Okay. How did you really learn to cycle? If someone asks me a question, how did you learn to cycle? I will tell that my father taught me, or my brother taught me, my sister taught me. How did you learn it? Okay, but there's a mechanism, right, in which you learn, right? Yes. So it's if I remember, like most of the time when I started to learn, the first time when I was very small, my father used to hold it behind, and he used to take me and he used to tell me, okay, this is how you have to pedal, you have to hold your handle like this, start pedaling, so that the cycle would move. But I used to have a fear in myself that I would fall, like until and unless you get a balance on your cycle, you'll really get fearful, right? So you have to go behind, right? So it's like you have an environment that controls you. So I will tell that my father was the one who used to control me before me falling down. Okay, I am the agent here, right? So I am the agent, I have an environment around me, whereas my father is holding the bicycle and he's telling me there are certain states and actions that we perform. Right now, if I'm in the moving state, okay, if I have to stop, I have to perform an action. For that, holding the brake, that's an action for me. Again, if I want to pedal it, I have to move. So an action that I have to perform is pedal, so that I'll keep moving. So everything over here, and basically we started to learn it on a trial and error method. Oh, okay, if I put my leg on this and push it, it's going to move. That's a trial and error method that we have learned, right? So it is all completely correlated to the reinforcement learning. Okay, so basically it's a trial and error method, and it is a sequence of operations that we perform. It's a sequence. First I have to hold the bike, okay, hold the cycle, the handle of it. Then I have to sit down, then I have to keep my the legs on my pedal, and only then if I have to move, then I have to pedal it, and then it goes moving. If I want to turn it, it's a sequence of actions that we have, and it is all associated with each other, right? It is all associated. If you think about it, it is all associated with each other. Reinforcement learning is a trial and error method. Learning to control a system with a trial and error method, everything. So this is how the block diagram of it looks like. So when I tell, okay, there's an environment, okay, and I am the agent, okay, so each and every agent, based on the state accordingly from the environment, he's going to perform an action. Okay, and there is an evaluation which is being done. There should be a reward that will be given to me, right? Like if I'm peddling it out correctly, there's someone who should evaluate, yes, you're doing right, you're doing wrong, right? So either there should be a reward that has been given to me, or either I would get a punishment. The punishment is basically, if I don't write properly, I'm going to fall and hurt myself. That's a punishment that for me, right? So as an agent, if I'm moving around, if I'm driving, okay, if I've started to learn, and if I'm moving, suddenly there's an obstacle that comes in front of me, there's a dog which passes, or a human, or a vehicle that just normally goes ahead, I need to know how to control it. So I need to know. So basically, the first time, if I make a mistake as well, if I get a punishment out of it. If I fall and if I get hurt out of it, that's a punishment. So obviously I will really get to know that I should not do the mistake again. In case, you're crossing the road, where your parents would have told you, no, you're not going to go beyond this border, so this is where you're going to cycle, and in case you go beyond that, you get one from your parent telling that, who told you to go over there? It's a punishment that is being given to you, right? So for an action, okay, for a current state, you are the action that you perform, you either get a reward or a punishment for that. So in case suddenly, as I told you, if I get a stone in front of me, so I have to look at the current scenario that I have. Okay, so there's a stone, so either I can go left or I can go towards the right. Okay, but that was just an abstract, but it should be a lifelong learning to me. What in case, I if there was a very bigger stone rather than a smaller stone, the scenarios can change, right? You have a smaller stone, there's a bigger stone, right? You go left or right, you can't cross that. So in that case, what you going to do? It's a dead end for you. You can't just directly go and hit, right? You're making your system learn. So the same example, when you're trying to make an automated driving system, all of these trial and error methods, it can get applied to the reinforcement learning. Okay, so the scenarios, it should be a lifelong learning to the system, so it should not make that mistake again. Okay, as I told you, when it is a small stone, I know how to react. But when it is a bigger, when there's a dead end, where there's a wall that has been in front of me, my system, it cannot just escape left or right, right? There should be a mechanism where it should stop the vehicle, right? So the states over here, as I was telling you, it can be when I have to take a left or a right, when I have to take a just immediate right turn or a left turn, where I have to slow down my vehicle, I have to perform some actions for that. So there are certain actions, there are certain states that is involved with respect to the agent. The states, as I told you, the angle, the way in which I'm going around, or the speed in which the cycle is moving, I have to analyze that. They are all the states of it. According to that state, I have to perform an action. If I'm going too fast, then my parent will tell me, no, you have to slow down. You cannot go so fast when it is in the steep. And it is too high, I can't go too slow because my cycle will again reverse back. So there are certain strategies which I have to think as well. Okay. So the agent, he learns from the close interaction with the environment. Very true. With the close interaction with the environment, whatever it is, senses the state, okay, in which the environment is, and it takes an appropriate action, applies it to the environment, which causes the state of the environment to change. Very true. Whatever we are talking about now is applied within one single sentence, right? Okay, and as I told, the actions is either I have to go to the left, lean to the left, or push down, or immediately keep my legs down so that I stop my vehicle, apply brakes to it. All of these things forms the actions. Okay, certain, okay, how do we learn a policy? Okay, maximize the measure for a long time performance. As I told you, whatever the kind of learning that we are doing, it should be for a very long time. So we have to make sure that in trial and error method, obviously there do exist mistakes. But when you do a mistake, you will get a reward or a punishment which really makes you that you should again not do the same mistake when you get a punishment out of it. The same strategy of whatever how we have learned how to cycle is what has been applicable to the automated driving systems or any of the reinforcement learning techniques. Okay, the applications of it is the autonomous agents, which is the robot navigation. So in which it has to move in the forward direction, whether it has to turn this way, turn that way. You have to give an action associated with it, right? So it is the automated agents or autonomous agents, which is nothing but the robot navigation, a cognitive or combinatorial optimization problems with respect to VLSI, the simulations of many of the aircrafts. We do that, right? And the simulation of the aircraft flying. So all of these things are few examples of the reinforcement learning. Okay, I think I'll stop here for today for this topic, and we'll start with a fresh topic of concept learning. Thank you.